There we are. How are we doing, people? This is Alexander, obviously. I'm going to fire this one off quick. There's not going to be questions on this one. No saving Harlots. I got a message this morning. The crying's the cat. Hi, cat. I got a message this morning from a young gentleman, and I say this, and I'm not going to say who it was specifically at all, but essentially his situation was that he is a young man. He's in his early 20s. He met a girl. She is 19. She had been in a 4-year relationship prior. He characterized himself as a good Christian guy, and he wanted to be with this girl. And he tried to make a relationship with her, and by his estimation, they bonded. They talked on the phone every day for 8 hours, and they never went, more than a day without speaking. They texted, they called each other, they had very intimate phone conversations, they fell asleep together. So he thought, we're in a relationship, right? Right? We're in a relationship. This is his estimation. She goes away to college, and subsequently she enters into what rational male, myself, would characterize as a hypergamous phase. Hypergamy meaning that women will sleep around. They'll sleep around not to be in a relationship. They'll sleep around simply for sexual satisfaction and thrill. And a lot of women go through this phase. Not all of them take it to the same level, but a lot of them run with it. And they essentially go through what many women themselves would characterize as a slut phase. They slut it up. They sleep around. There's a ton of different dicks in their life, so on and so forth. These are the things that women will never share with you that they do, but they do them. No girl's ever going to tell a guy, oh yeah, when I was in college, I hooked up with a different guy every weekend for the first 3 semesters. They're not going to tell you that. And that's a dramatic example, but they're not going to tell you that. Point being, though, this woman, this young lady, she went to college, decided to go into a hoe phase, has slept, according to his number, like 5, 6 different guys within like a semester. And he's still attached to her. He still wants to be with her. He still thinks there's something there because of the bonding they had. Where do you start with this one? I think the fundamental, the meta-level issues to this situation is the fact that you are dealing with a young man. There's a lot of you in this situation. You're dealing with young men who have a very, very, very false conceptualization of what femininity is and what masculinity is. To femininity and to essentially just what women are, as a being. Women are not godly creatures. Women are not angels. Women are not unicorns. If you're a man, if you're a young man, you're having this idolized view that you're going to be, as I characterize, the Disney prince, not even the soulmate myth, but you're going to be the Disney prince, and you're going to be the good guy, the nice guy, and you're going to be so good and so nice and so sweet and so loving to this girl, and she's just going to reward you with this, sort of virginal, blissful, you could call it, twin flame soulmate kind of mythology of love, and she's going to be there for you, and you guys are going to have this beautiful relationship for each other. That's not how this goes, gentlemen. That's not how this goes. That is an idolized, romanticized worldview, and in reality, practically speaking, relationships are messy. Relationships are imperfect because people are imperfect. And reality, women are not perfect creatures, and men are not perfect creatures. But your own, let's call it, say, perfectualized viewpoint of what a relationship is because based upon your behavior, that is so wildly inaccurate. And to women, honestly, it's so, in a way, kind of disgusting and boring, really, more than anything else, that no, you're never going to find that because that's not how women are. Women want to be thrilled. Women want to be satisfied. Women want a man that leads. Women don't want a guy that, as I said, is a Disney prince where you're there on your knees supplicating to her and expecting her to be so good to you because you thought you were good to her. The falsery to that is, it is concrete on multiple levels that you don't fucking understand both your own masculinity and, in not understanding your own masculinity, you sure as hell don't understand femininity at all. At all, at all, at all. So with these situations, it's a maturity issue. Yeah, it's a maturity issue. I'm speaking to it on a more metaphysical level, but on the level of reality, it's the guy that he is stuck in sort of the 13, 14-year-old teenage boy fantasy, the beta fantasy of wanting to be the perfect girl, and he's now in his early 20s, still thinking that there's the perfect girl in the perfect relationship, and that's still his model that he's looking for. And subsequently, you're just going to be vastly, vastly disappointed. And at the same time, with that model, you also have the situation where these guys go for women who are, let's just say, I don't know if flawed would quite be the correct terminology. You have these guys that are going to go for women that are both manipulative and oftentimes hypergamous, and are projecting this need upon, beta level men. Oh, I need someone to save me. I would be a good girl if I could just find the right guy. So they are drawn to each other, and subsequently both parties end up disappointed. Vastly, vastly, vastly disappointed for, different reasons. But the disappointment is there regardless. So, the main thrust to this, there's no saving Harlots. If a girl's going through that phase, or if a girl simply is that way, where, she's as the manosphere calls, 1,000-cock stare, the girl that sleeps around everybody, you are not going to be the guy that pulls her out of that, nor do you want to be the guy that pulls her out of that, nor do you want to be the man that ends up with her, period. Period, period, period. The more men a woman is with, the less her ability to form a bond with any one man, and the statistical evidence bears that out pretty strongly. So does let's say the evidential, anecdotal evidence of men that have known women that are loose women, or women that sleep around a lot. They don't form very good relationships with men, period, because they've had so many of them that they have lost all ability to form a concrete relationship on a deep level. Is the role reversal true? No, it's not. It's not. The more women a man is with, the more desirable he will be to a woman, and the more he has demonstrated his value, because men that are valuable, they're desired by many women. Women that are unvaluable are desired by no men, but are fucked by every man. So no, it's the complete reverse. That's not a situation in which you try to equalize the two, because it's not a situation of equalization. It's a situation of two different natures of being. So, practical point to this, guys, don't try to save hoes. Don't be that guy. It will never, ever, ever work out for you. And as some gentlemen already pointed out in the thread, they knew men that were that guy, or they tried to be that guy, and they got fucked over, cheated on, or ended up in divorce court or custody court, and now they are living in some level of hell, or had to go through hell, and it was their fault. It was your fault for putting yourself through that. Don't chase hoes. No, don't chase hoes. Correct. Are there actually questions to this? I think this is pretty self-evident. What are you drinking? Coffee. I'm drinking coffee. Black coffee. Cold brew? No, just regular brewed coffee. And it's almost gone now, actually, so I'm sad. What if I want to be a hoe for a little while? So you do. That's up to you. I don't really judge women on the basis of, if you want to have a slut phase, go slut out, sister. But guess what? You're going to be that girl that's lying about a notch count. So, hey. So is it impossible at a certain point for hoes to find the guy? Can men give up their Harlow ways for women, though? That's not how that works. Men are not Harlows. Men that sleep around a lot, you can take that too far on the, the predication that you may... You can't take that too far in the predication that some men are with so many women that they too lose their ability to be with a woman. That is such a thing, but for most men, that's not the case at all. That's not, like I said, it's not a reversal situation. This behavioral tendency, not behavioral tendency, this mental tendency, let us say, where we take what women do and then immediately try to reverse it onto what men do and vice versa, and then we equate that with oh, look, the sexes are equal, we need to make things equal. You are talking about two different natures of being. Women are not women. Men are not women are not men. Men are not women. There's a complementarity to female and male nature. They interact with each other, and then they create a cohesive whole. When you separate that whole and then try to, literally mere copy them, again, that's not how it works. The behavioral and the spiritual, the transcendental, and the purely biological reality of how women and men are relative to, their role in the world at large, two different things, two different ways of being. They are not equal. That doesn't mean they are unequal in the sensibility that one is worth less or more than the other, but they are not equal. And trying to equalize them is always it's fucking disaster. It's fucking disaster, and then it's confusing for people. Is it unethical to contribute to 1,000 cock stare? That's upon you. As I was saying, I don't judge people that way. If girls want to slut it the fuck up. Go ahead, honey. I'm not going to be the one that, is going to be, looking. I mean, slut up, but understand that you are going to exclude yourself from, what might be better quality men, or the men you end up with are going to be men that don't regard you very well. So, go with that. If you tame the Harlow, her soul is yours for eternity. That's an archetypical sort of mythological story. The idea that you take, the wild woman who basically is a slut, and then you are the man that masters her. It's very appealing for women. It's very, there's a fantasy aspect to it. In reality, within the world we live in, physical reality, doesn't usually happen. Very, 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 very uncommon. And I would say that it's a very poor idolization to chase or model yourself on. A woman that finally realizes their mistakes, what are your thoughts? If they realize their mistakes, they realize their mistakes. Like I said, I'm not judgmental. Some women go through a phase where they think every guy that says they love... Some women go through a phase where every guy that says they're into them, they want to be with them, and they sleep with them, or every guy that says they love them, they fall into bed with, and they realize, wow, I got lied to and kind of used up. And then they try to change their ways, and that's part of the maturation process. I am not of the mindset to put on a pedestal the idea of, the female virgin, where I'm expecting, women from the age of, where I'm expecting women from their sexual awakening up until, they get married to, keep their legs closed and only be with their husband. As I said before, a few days ago, on Twitter, maybe it was the other night, people have been fucking and sucking for millennia, millions of years. The virginal ideal is an ideal. It's an ideal. It's not something that you necessarily uphold in reality. That said, is it in a woman's best interest to fuck every man that she meets? Probably not. But and again, that's a dramatic example, but probably not. If you are a woman and you have some sensibility of what men value in women, you're going to have some sense of chastity. And that's what that means to you and how you apply it to yourself. Different strokes for different folks. There's a slut threshold, that's for sure. There is. Is slut culture increasing or more acceptable due to the rise in feminism? That's a good question. I do have a six-pack. You can go on my Instagram and see that. Also, block. Fucking dumbasses. Slut culture and feminism. During the 1960s, let us say, the 1960s to about probably today, there definitely, I think, was an increase. This would go, this is not my estimation, this is fact. From the sexual revolution, 1960s to now, there was definitely, without question, an increase in female promiscuity and just general number of sexual partners and people hooking up, and it became more socially acceptable. That said, relative to today and the way that feminism has evolved, it's ironically I perceive that as coming somewhat of an end, where there's this element now in feminism where women, because they have so essentially demonized and toxified men, that any kind of sexual interaction, this is kind of the Me Too movement, any kind of sexual interaction, any kind of interaction period is deemed assault or violence or rape. And then subsequently that's having this broader effect, it's having a second, third order effect, where this being with men sexually in the first place is frowned upon. So, in a strange way, women are sort of regulating their own sexuality back to a state of almost, I guess, the comparison would be sort of like Victorian chastity, where we're kind of moving towards this sexually segregated culture where, probably the only interaction that's going to take place between men and women is going to be, in a controlled environment and or the marriage bed. Not that we're going to end up, not to imply that Victorian era norms are going to take hold that strongly, but that's kind of the model that I see playing out. Since, in my interactions with a lot of women today, it's interesting. You have women that are completely, of the model that I can fuck whoever I want. Then you have women that are completely of the model that I only want to sleep with, my husband. That seems to be becoming more prevalent, strangely enough. Or not strangely enough. I suppose it's to be expected. There's multiple levels to that, and you have multiple competing factions of ideologies. What are the feminine and masculine roles in a successful relationship? Men lead, women follow. That's about simple as I can make it. Men move the world by way of will, women move the world by way of persuasion. They will it to move. They do not move it by force. So yeah, that's the most basic characterization I could give. I'm not an expert on long-term relationships. I'm not in a long-term relationship that's been going on forever and ever. I'm not in a relationship right now, period. So I don't find it my place to pontificate on what makes a healthy relationship last in the long term. You know, so far as I've seen the relationships that do endure for long periods of time, the man and the woman. So. Why do women have prevalent rape fantasies? Oh, that's a good question and a charged question. How can I answer that without putting myself into a hole or boxing myself into a corner? No questions for a second. Let me think about this. I will say it this way. Sex exists at the edge of civilization and nature. Sex exists at the edge of order and chaos. Sex is a physical and transcendental experience that is very, very difficult to characterize and describe and articulate, because it takes us both into this realm of cognitive, rational fulfillment, and it takes us into this realm of sheer animalism and wildness. So, that is what sex is in a sense. It operates on multiple levels, and it is, in a way, it is infinity, it is all things. It can represent all things. Sex can be an act of creation. Sex can be viewed as an act of destruction. Sex can be an act of coming together. Sex can be an act of, hate and punishment. Sex can be charged with literally almost every single human emotion. So women, for sex, since women are, of the two sexes, women are the one that are more within the realm of nature and chaos. If you view it in that sense, sex for a woman then, or let's say the fantasy of being, forcibly taken, that is the fantasy, essentially, in a way, of having your existence mastered and contained. So, and there's a thrill to that. There's a thrill to that. Women have rape fantasies for a reason. Reasons that they themselves are often unable to articulate, since no woman wants to be legitimately raped, but women have the fantasy of being forced. Women have the fantasy of having a sexual experience in such a way that it almost, and that's the thing. That's a very fine line. That's why I characterize this as chaos and nature and violence, or nature and civilization, of almost being raped, where someone takes you to such a level that you are contained by them, that you are had by them, and there is nothing that you can do. That sort of nature has been brought to task. So that's why I think that's a fantasy. I'm trying to articulate that very clearly, since that can be misunderstood very, very easily. It's a hard thing to find. Sexual fantasies are very hard things to find. Is sex only after marriage wise, and that you're not wasting your time in your 20s? No, I don't. I find that impractical. If you want to live that way, by all means do so. You're going to have to put yourself in an environment where you are around other people who have that sensibility of, I guess, purity and chastity, where they all believe also in, no sex before marriage. And like, if you want to live that way and be that way, by all means live and be that way. I don't find that very practical at all. And again, while that's an ideal, certainly, that has been modeled throughout history, the brutal realities that people probably have been fucking each other before marriage for forever, before Christianity was an institution. So that's up to you. That is up to you. I'm not going to say it's good or bad. It comes down to however you can make it work for yourself. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Certainly there are men who have tried that, because there are men who have tried that, and I know this because I've talked to them, and it did not work out very well. Because they end up in a position where they were still obviously incredibly sexually inexperienced. They're with a woman, they had no idea how to fulfill her, satisfy her, stay ahead of her, lead her, and subsequently they got cheated on. So their sort of, perfect Christian virgin fantasy completely fucking fell apart in their hands. Unfortunately. Any other questions, guys? Seeing a lot of men trying to fix girls. Don't try to fix women. Don't try to fix women. Do you think we are more attracted to women that we view as being compatible with our concept of self? More attracted to? I'm not sure what the question is. Like, are you asking, are we more attracted to women that, I guess, fit our ideal of what a woman is? Perhaps. We also tend to be attracted to things that it can be the complete opposite of what, we are ourselves. Do we see them in a better light? Well, probably. I mean, we're always going to be more favorable to the things we like. How can the Christian virgin fantasy be fixed? I mean, how do you fix it? It's fucking unrealistic. It's just brutally unrealistic. I don't know that it needs fixing. I think it almost needs like a slap in the face of like, wake the fuck up. Yeah, that's why I call it I call it the Disney Prince fantasy. I want a nice, good girl, and women and men are equally as tawdry and sexual as each other in terms of the sheer depravity of their desires. So, take that for what it's worth. Hi, sir. Hi. Any other questions, guys? This is a good conversation. This is a mature conversation for the subject matter. What are your thoughts on the Oedipal complex and male maturity? Nothing that you haven't heard from Jordan B. Peterson, honestly. Yeah, again, it just speaks to the generational state that we're in, where a lot of men have been raised by their mothers. They have no other relationship that essentially is a functional female relationship other than the one with their mother, and that's the only relationship and even that's not very functional in the first place. And subsequently, all their relationships with women, once they leave the home, are dysfunctional. And how do you go about fixing that? It's a difficult process. What is your perspective on dating in LA? Dating in LA can be fun. It can also be unfulfilling. You're probably not going to meet anyone serious. Maybe you will. Is aspartame as bad as some make it out to be? No. I'm still formulating my thoughts on Oedipal complex. I think that one of the grand issues in the situation of Oedipal complex and male maturity, and I can say even electric complex and female maturity, is that people have been raised with false paradigms of what women are and what men are, that are in contrast to their, let's say, more true inherent / biological nature. And subsequently, this creates a hypocrisy of behavior and hypocrisy of understanding, where people are acting in ways they don't quite understand, and understanding each other in ways that are inaccurate, and understanding themselves in ways that are not true. And subsequently, you have a situation in which everyone is confused, both about themselves and who they are, and other people and what they are. So men don't understand themselves very well, women don't understand their own femininity very well, and subsequently both sexes don't understand each other very well. And where does that come from? Well, that comes on a certain level. That comes from how you are raised. There's that factor. Men that are raised by women, as I said, and oftentimes in many cases emasculated by them and made slaves to women. Women that are raised by women who make them out to be essentially sort of like perfect little unicorns and princesses, and the expectation that because they are women, they are entitled to things, and they're raised by fathers who they are able to bully and beat down. Then they end up as, ladies where they have this very fractured psyche of wanting to be with a man, wanting to be dominated by a man, not equating being led by a man with a healthy relationship, but also not respecting men who are beta like their father, and everyone's just confused all the time. Everyone is fucking confused. I mean, you can start breaking that down into so many different pieces that, how do you tackle any one approach? I try to address things from a meta perspective and look at things whole picture. Speaking to things individually, I could be sitting here making this video now for the next 18, 20, the rest of my life, hours, trying to dissect each of those things and why they happen. So hopefully that answered the question. Good question, though. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen? I think I will end that there. Yeah, I'll end that there. Alright, good talk, guys. The current goal is to make all men weak through... I'm not going to go on about the all men weak, blah, 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 blah. Shit. You want to go through the conspiracy route, that's a wonderful rabbit hole to fall down into. I don't have a lot of respect for that kind of opinion, subsequently, just because it's so nihilistic and so cynical, and so subsequently unrealistic in the sensibility that if you kill off everybody, there's no society to profit from in the first place. So, I don't give it much merit. Anyway, talk to y'all again. Good luck, people.